This is a Sessions video tutorial, Umber Painting.
In this video, I'll demonstrate how to make an umber painting for the eventual portrait. I'm going to be using a number 1 filbert bristle brush. It's small enough that it allows me to get the most specific line possible. The shape's really conducive to getting a nice point. I think superior to a flat or a round. An important part of getting a good functioning umber sketch is getting the correct consistency of umber to turpenoid. What I do is I first dip my brush in the turpenoid, get it soaked, find out how much is on there, and then I'll pull off some of my puddle of umber and mix it. Right now that's too watery. Ideally you want a mix that is inky, similar to the consistency of ink, maybe a little thicker, but you don't want it so watery that when you put it down, it's runny or lacks specificity. This is about the consistency that I want. The paint travels far, so I don't have to keep going back to my palette and remixing or dabbing. I can get a continuous line, but it's one that's not so runny. It's actually got some substance to it. Now when I apply the brush to the canvas, I'm using the very tip of the brush. I'm thinking of the foremost protruding bristles of the brush. They're the ones that are touching the canvas. If I start to press down too hard, I get a line that's thick and again lacks that specificity that you need. If you find your lines getting too thick, you can subtract by taking a clean brush, dipping it in turpentine, dabbing it off, and then subtractively carving away from that original line. A lot of people get frustrated when drawing with a brush because it's not as specific as mediums they're used to. Conventional mediums, maybe graphite. But you see, by subtracting from this line, I can get a line that's comparable to the specificity of a pencil. So I've mixed up a fairly decent-sized pile of the umber of the proper consistency, and I'm just going to start drawing. At the beginning, you can actually have it a more terp-heavy mix, just to make the paint travel. And again, because a lot of these lines will have to get erased. That same principle or same technique used to subtract from a line obviously will work when erasing any marks that need to go. I'll take a clean brush. I'll maintain a clean brush throughout the process. I'll grab a new one if my erasing brush gets too filled with pigment. And if an area is off, I'll just wipe it right on out. Maybe make a second pass with a rag. Or even just dip the rag straight into the turp and lift out a whole area. Take as long as you need to on this process of mapping things out with lines. I'm rushing this a little bit, but I'm actually going to go in and start to unify some of the shadow areas. That's another place where the consistency of paint is very important. And the idea is to get those areas as smooth and unified and of a single tone as possible. So for that, I'm going to take, again, a mixture of turpentine and umber. Turpentine to make the paint travel a little further, make it more transparent and not as dark. And I'm going to go up and try it out. I'm going to keep a very light touch, and I'm just glazing that paint on. Think of a paint bucket tool in digital art. Any kind of texture will distract from the form. It's amazing how much form you can get from just 2 tones. People tend to think that volume is about blending, but oftentimes correct drawing in 2 tones can be have amazing illusionistic depth. There will inevitably be areas where the drawing didn't work at the first pass of the contour. I'm going to have to go in and specify this line, which has gotten too thick. It's really cumbersome with a lot of pigment. I can't really tell where the edge of this face exists. And that's where I have to come in with a clean brush with some terp and subtract. And there you see that pigment getting lifted off and the actual location of the edge of the jaw and neck getting revealed. There's some ambiguity here as to where the edge of the face actually is. Part of it is because I haven't developed the drawing to that extent, but this is the time to do it. There's an academic school in New York that spends weeks on doing a perfect contour line drawing of the face or figure. And when it comes time to fill in the shadow portion, they are obsessive about getting this flat texture here. They use graphite on paper, and inevitably when you put down graphite on paper, because of the tooth of the paper, the graphite catches the tips of the fibers and then doesn't reach into the divots. And they'll go back in with a molded eraser and pick off the graphite that's rested on the tips, and they'll sharpen a pencil and fill in all the divots of the paper. That's how much they prioritize getting a flat shadow shape. And once they have that, it's amazing how much their two-tone drawings just pop off the surface. Once I complete this and it's dry, this umber painting will make a good foundation for the oil painting.
Did you like this video? Then subscribe today to stay up to date on our channel or follow us on Google+, Twitter, and Facebook. Visit sessions.edu for more info on classes and admissions. Also, don't forget to check out the links to free downloadable content in the description. Thanks for watching.